Bienvenuto a tutti and welcome to my kitchen here in Newport. I thought I would make a classic dish that I grew up eating practically every weekend and for sure every holiday. It is a classical peasant dish. It's gnocchi, typically made with potatoes and flour, but in our family's region in Campania and down in Basilicata and Potenza in our family's village, Gallo Matese, we make it with ricotta cheese. All right, here's everything you need to get started. You'll want 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons of butter, and you'll want to melt this in the microwave, but make sure it's cool before you start to mix it in. You don't want it to be hot because you don't want it to cook the eggs. And then you'll need a teaspoon of salt. This is 1 pound of ricotta cheese, and this is how it comes at the grocery store in a 1 pound tub, just like that. We'll use all-purpose flour for this gnocchi today. I like to use semolina, but I wasn't able to find any in the grocery stores before recording this, but all-purpose flour will work just fine. So I'm going to start with, this is my great-grandmother, Maria DiPietrantonio. This is her bowl right here. I've had this for years. So we're going to start with a big bowl, and as I said with the ingredients, you're going to need at least 2 eggs, so we're going to drop those in there. All right, I've already put in my pound of ricotta cheese right here with the 2 eggs and the salt. All right, so here is my 2 tablespoons of butter. They've been melted. I'm going to drop them right in here on top of the ricotta cheese. Next, I like to make sure all of the ricotta, the egg, and the salt and the butter mixture is really well mixed together. It makes kind of a paste. I know a lot of people like to put the flour on and the eggs separately and make a mound and mix all that together. That makes a huge mess. I like to do it this way. This has worked well for me since about 5th grade. So this is how long I've been making this pasta in our family. And it's a lot of fun. And it's really easy to make, and it's always better when it's fresh like this. You can really taste the difference. All right, it looks like it's pretty well mixed right now, and this is the point where you've got kind of a loose mixture. We're gonna start adding flour until it gets to a nice consistency, nice and firm, and doesn't pull away on your fingers to start rolling out the pieces of gnocchi. Okay, now I've got my flour. I'm just gonna start slowly working some of this in. So I'm gonna add maybe about a cup and a half right now to the ricotta mixture and just see how it takes it. Let's start mixing it together and see how well it does. Get my fork out of here. Start mixing all this together. And again, you want to get a consistency that is firm to the touch, but you don't want to get it so dry that you can't form the pasta, because then it'll start breaking up and it'll fall apart once you get to the water. So we don't want that to happen. You want it to be firm, and you can see as it's being mixed together here that it's all starting to take shape. It's coming together. It's still a little wet right now, but I don't mind it that way for just a little, because we're going to add some flour when it comes to rolling it out on the countertop here in just a minute. All right, so the consistency looks pretty good right now. I'm going to take some flour here and just dust the counter a little bit, which of course I have cleaned prior to. Just put some nice light flour down, just sprinkle it down, enough to work with, but again, you don't want to dry the dough out. And really, this is all my own personal experience doing this for years. Some chefs may be appalled right now at my technique, but it's always worked well for me. So here we go. Make sure you get it coated here with the flour, and it looks like it's pretty good consistency overall. Just gonna fold it back and forth and make sure it's not too wet. Again, you just don't want it to be too wet. When you start working this and rolling it out into the little pieces we need to make the gnocchi and form it, you don't want it to come apart. All right, so I've taken my dough scraper and I'm just gonna slice off a little off the end of my dough here. And you wanna take the dough and you wanna roll it out into a long snake, kind of tidying up the ends. But the one thing you don't wanna do, you don't want it to be very thick. So you wanna try to roll it out and get it to as thin a consistency as you can. Because once we go to slice this, if you don't, tear some off there. If you make them too big, they are going to just triple inside the boiling water. There's a point where you can really get fast at doing this. Get your little ball, push it against, just turn it down, and done. Hey, let's try this again so you get the technique down. So once you have your little pillow there in your hand, just roll it around a little bit. Take your fork. You want the back edge of it right here. You're going to push that little pillow of dough onto the fork. You want to press it just a little bit so that it pushes the dough into the tines of the fork. Roll it down, and there you get, each time, a perfectly formed gnocchi. I can't even imagine my grandmother just making hundreds of these just to enjoy on a Sunday dinner. Now, you don't want to make them any much bigger than this because this already is going to probably get twice its size in the boiling hot water. And these cook very quickly, under 10 minutes. And then these grooves are going to grow and they're going to hold all that good sauce that you have cooked all day, or a good pesto, or however you want to dress it. Sometimes they're just great with butter. So try that. Try the rolling technique. I know there are boards you can buy. You can roll the gnocchi down. There are machines that crank it out. But really, this is the old school way to do it. And it's still the way I've done it since elementary school. Well, here they are. This is the final product on this cutting board here. And I like to let mine dry for just a little while so they're not too wet going into the water, though you can throw them right into boiling water right after you make them. I prefer to let mine dry a little bit and to shake off some of the excess flour. That way the water doesn't get all gummy once they start cooking. My water is just about to come to a boil. I want to add just a little bit of salt, about a tablespoon. Just about ready to drop the pasta in. All right, so they're in the water now, and what you want to do is stir them very gently because the fresh pasta is very delicate. You're going to notice within a few minutes, they're going to start floating. I made mine a little thicker than I would have liked, trying to rush for this demonstration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep taking one out and taking a bite and making sure they're cooked all the way through. Otherwise, they generally take just a few minutes to cook. Fresh pasta cooks really fast. And these are looking great. We are just minutes away now from fresh gnocchi. All right, quick check of the sauce here. Make sure the sauce, the meatballs, oh yeah, they look good. They look good. It's been cooking here for several hours. I get the lid on straight there. Now, let's get back to the pasta. You can see it's all floating now. Looking good. And as predicted, remember I said it would get 2 to 3 times bigger than it was. And these have definitely pumped up. I'm going to do a quick taste test just to make sure they're cooked all the way through. You don't want to have a raw center, that's for sure. I made mine a little thicker this time, so I want to make sure they're cooked all the way through. Then we are good to go. Okay, they're ready to come out, and I use one of these spiders because you can capture a lot of gnocchi at one time. And the one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to rinse the gnocchi after you're done boiling it. You want to leave some of the pasta water on there. That really helps the sauce cling to the pasta once you're ready to add the sauce to it. So just use one of these spiders. They're great. They hold a lot of gnocchi at one time. Make sure you give it a good shake. Let it drain through. Then just deposit it right over here. We're going to add sauce in just a minute as soon as we get all the rest of these out here. But as you can see, these things have really, really pumped up. Okay, now we're ready to add the sauce. And we've had it cooking here for several hours. Can't give the secret to my homemade sauce away yet, but this looks really good. A nice heavy ragu for sure. What you want to do is just ladle that generously on there. Keeping in mind, when you were rolling the gnocchi out, you got all those little grooves. It's just going to pick up all that sauce and hold it. Plus, you didn't rinse the pasta water off your pasta. That's going to help it cling. Let's add a meatball here. Let's add maybe 4 total. Then we're going to dress this up with some delicious basil, freshly cut. Oh, it smells so good. A little chiffonade on the basil. Smells delicious. Chiffonade, by the way, is when you roll the basil up and then you just chop it and it all unfolds in little ribbons and looks amazing. All right, here's our basil. generously just dollop that all over. Oh, it's so good. And it smells amazing when it's fresh. And you just chop it up like this, little chiffonade action. So good. Little ribbons of deliciousness right there on top. Once you serve, add some pecorino romano for some extra zest on there, some good dry Italian cheese, and you are ready to go. Well, here you have it. Fresh homemade gnocchi, so easy to make and straight out of your kitchen. If you want the recipe, it's only like 4 ingredients. Feel free to reach out to me at fox19.com. I'll happily share it with you. And if you have any questions about how to make it as you go along, I'll certainly try to answer. But definitely, great Italian food is always part of the taste of Cincinnati. Buon appetito!
We're La Rosa's. For over 65 years, we've been making our delicious family recipes for you and your family. Whether you prefer the classics or lean to something new and uniquely La Rosa's. With our menu of over 40 tasty selections, it's easy to find your next family-pleasing meal. Whether you pick it up or we deliver it to you, we're here where and when you need us. And whatever you choose, remember, there's something delicious for everyone at La Rosa's Family Pizzeria.